flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Here.
Alderman Morose? Here. Alderman Ross?
Here.
Alderman Rucker?
Here.
Alderman Schuman? Here. Alderman Becker?
Here.
Mayor Harmonson?
Here. All right, we're going to start off this evening with two proclamations. First one is the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 9th through the 15th, 2023. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation and property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Osage Beach 911 Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Osage Beach Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, I, Michael Harmonson, Mayor of City of Osage Beach, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through April 15th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. In Osage Beach, in honor of the men and women who diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and have caused the official seal of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, to be affixed this 6th day of April, 2023. All right, the second proclamation is a National Volunteer Week, April 16th through the 22nd, 2023. Whereas National Volunteer Week is an opportunity to recognize and honor countless individuals who selflessly invest in their lives of others, and whereas volunteers are finding unique and innovative ways to spread joy and meet the emotional, physical, and spiritual needs of others, even while adhering to social distancing measures. And whereas everyday volunteers help shape the policies that keep our city moving forward in the right direction, and their impact can be felt throughout the community. And whereas there are thousands of volunteers in our community who give their time and effort to help others through their church, community organizations, service clubs, schools, hospitals, charitable organizations, and other worthy endeavors. And whereas our city government cannot function without volunteers who serve on boards, commissions, and committees. And whereas volunteers are motivated by the simple satisfaction of helping their fellow citizens and making their community a better place to live. Now, therefore, I, Michael Harmonson, do hereby proclaim April 16th through the 22nd, 2023 as National Volunteer Week in Osage Beach, and urge citizens to join me in this special observance with appropriate events and commemorations. In witness hereof, set my hand to cause the seal of the City of Osage Beach to be affixed the 6th day of April, 2023. All right, very good. Citizens communications. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be denoted or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting days, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board tonight? All right, seeing none, We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. If the board so desires, the consent agenda may be approved in a single motion. We have the minutes for the Alderman meeting 16th, the bills list, and liquor licenses. First, do we have, Alderman Morose?
Liquor is all in order.
Thank you for helping me with that. All right. Do I have an approval for the consent agenda?
First of all, clarification, we have 2 minutes we're approving tonight.
I'm sorry, minutes board of the Alderman workshop also on March 7th.
And second of all, I would make a motion for approving them based on the corrections that I gave to Tara, unfortunately, this afternoon. I was late in getting to her.
Very good. Do I have a second? So moved. All right, Alderman Becker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Consent agenda is approved. All right, we have a full house tonight. First, we have Bill 23-15, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving a petition to establish the Beach Drive Community Improvement District, approving a cooperation and transportation project agreement in connection with the development of property within the Community Improvement District, and authorizing and directing further actions in connection therewith. This is the second reading, and we have City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Well, I have no further comments. I know I wasn't here at the last meeting, so if you have any questions, myself or even Cole or Tara can answer.
Any comments or questions from the board? All.
I brought a problem to Tara, and I let Tara express what you want to do with it, or?
Well, in the packet, there's 2 separate petitions. One says 74 acres and one says 80 acres. I've made a call to Mark Spikerman to see, I believe it's going to be the 74 acre because that's the one that's in the ordinance, and the 80 was the one that was submitted back in February? January.
Second one was February.
Okay. So.
Likely incorrectly submitted.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
They had to amend it because they had a discrepancy, and I don't know if it was the legal
Well, there's
description.
two things that were different. One is the fact that the January one says 80 acres, and the February one says 74, and the second one is the January one has a different board set up than the February one. And the February one is what I'm 99% sure is what we're going with, but unfortunately, both of them are in the packet.
Yeah, it was attached, and
I
it was
believe it's
attached
probably just an error.
to it when I got it from Mark, so it just went in, but I'm almost positive that's gonna come out, but I will definitely make sure that that's the only one that gets amended in the ordinance.
I know that the second board setup is correct because that was negotiated.
Right.
Okay.
So I just
And
wanna make
there
that-
wasn't, and I don't recall the specifics of it, but I do know that there was a change in the legal description which resulted in the acreage. So either they had done the math wrong or they had included a parcel they didn't mean to include. The January, I guess, would be your first draft, and the February would be your final draft.
So I'll take that second petition out of that ordinance packet.
I think it's the first in order of the petition. I would make a motion that we approve this based on the February petition.
Okay,
I think that's the cleanest way.
perfect.
All right. Before we get to a second, do we have any other comments or questions?
Just a quick comment, and I'm a little confused on this. There are 2 notaries on this initial petition, and they're notarized in Miller County. If you look through the documentation, does that have any bearing on us? Because we are Camden County?
No.
We're both.
Well,
They could-
we are both, true.
They could be commission notaries in Poughkeepsie, and
Yeah, no.
I just didn't know if it had to be notarized by somebody within the county for the
Nope.
petition. Okay,
nope, notary's just notary.
okay, that's all.
Any other comments or questions? Do I have a second? I'm sorry, Alderman Ross, did you?
Well, I guess the question was, Cole, are you comfortable with how Kevin made that motion?
I
Does that
am.
make sense?
Yeah, I was nodding at him the whole
I have
time.
nothing else.
All right.
I couldn't see it, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Osteen. Roll call, please.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Now, I love reading this one.
I'm getting near the end of them. I'll just let you know. There's another one coming next meeting.
All right. the first and second. So this is the second reading. Bill 23-16, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 235, Sections 235.010 definitions, 235.020 rules and regulations, 235.030 violations, 235.040 inspections, 235.050 bond, 235.060 liability insurance, 235.070 prohibited practices, 235.080 required, 235.090 applications, 235.100 issuance, 235.110 renewal, 235.130 residential containers, 235.140 commercial containers, 235.150 tree limbs, 235.160 yard waste, 235.170 location containers, 235.210 what will be collected items collected become property of collection agency, 235.220 placement for collections, 235.230 bulky rubbish, 235.240 entry onto private property. Second reading, and who wants to take this one? Alderman Rucker.
There is one clarification in the packet, because there's an error in the packet. At our last meeting, I made a floor amendment, and unfortunately, that floor amendment didn't get all of it into this. So in your packet, under section 235.170, the correct reading should be, as it was approved at the last meeting, residential solid waste containers and, wait a second here, and commercial solid waste containers shall be stored upon the private property, period. That was an error in this packet, but that's the correct reading of it. And that's the same as a floor amendment from last meeting.
All right. Any comments or questions for Alderman Rucker? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Moreau, roll call, please.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-17, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute supplemental agreement number 8 to the professional service agreement with LOR Engineering, LLC, doing business as Cochran Engineering for the design and construction phase for the reconstruction of Osage Beach Road for an amount not to exceed $214,825. This is the second reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. The only comment I'll make on this is there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting, which both Gina and Cole were absent at, around whether or not we had the authority to approve this, even though it had construction inspection that wouldn't be taking place until 2024. As I had stated at that meeting, if this is approved tonight, and then the budget is approved for 2024 with that piece in it, then there's no reason for us to come back to the board for authority. But I will let Cole or Gina elaborate on that if you would like. Otherwise, I have no further comments.
Well, I'll elaborate because we do contracts like it's, for example, the Negler contract. This is the contract to ask you, we're going to intend to provide this service, staff not to exceed X dollars. Whether those X dollars get funded in this budget or next budget, staff's bubble of authority follow the not to exceed. We budget and allocate the funds based within that contract. So whether it's a fuel contract or, any other types of services that we may run not a calendar year. This is an authority to ask not to exceed for XYZ services, and then we budget and allocate money appropriately then through the budget.
And it would be no different than, at this point, we discussed vehicles a couple of meetings ago. If we're ordering a vehicle now that we know we're not getting until '24, it's no different than signing a purchase order or contract on a vehicle we expect to be delivered in '24. but we're not budgeted for this year, or even if we were budgeted this year. But
I'm the one that raised those big questions, by the way. I'm sure you all know that. And once again, and Kevin's looking at me at this because I understand what you just said, Cole, but in my mind, if we were approving the purchase of a vehicle, as used for example, then if we're purchasing that expense, and that should be included as an amendment to our budget for this year, regardless of when that's funding, we're approving dollar amounts to be set aside for this purchase transaction. And that was kind of the big question of, even though we're approving it now, that's still, even though it's not going to fund or part of the funds aren't going to happen until 2024, I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't require
Contract.
some type of budget amendment. Going back to the vehicles as well, all the vehicles that we're approving, yes, we may not get them in 2024, but we're still improving them and including them in this year's budget, regardless of when they're delivered and we pay out for those items.
Yeah, in this particular case, we knew this was coming, so 2023 did include budget amount for appropriation. Now you're just giving us the authority to actually write the check and start the service. So we would, if we didn't have this approved, or if we didn't have this included in the budget, then a budget amendment would naturally
Okay.
follow. That way, what's allocated and budgeted matches what we have approved contracts.
Okay, that's all.
All right. Alderman Rush.
So to switch gears on you a little bit, if we were to approve this engineering in-house position, wouldn't the services on the $92,000 part be completed, and we hired, okay, let's just put it that way, by the end of 2022, or 23, excuse me, wouldn't we have contracted for the services that we may approve for a position on a future agenda item here?
So let me answer that more in generalities. If we ended up, and then I'll get to the specific. So if we end up hiring, get a city engineer in hand, yes, there will be services that our consultants are currently doing that would be moved in-house. They may or may not equate to individual supplement agreements. You know, for example, and I need to put my thoughts, I'm gonna think as I'm talking if that works out so great.
Okay.
These are specific supplemental agreements for a specific project that's not really open-ended. You know, we've contracted with general services, so some of those naturally will be brought in-house, so therefore you will expect to see the billings of Cochrane go down. Sorry, I tried to use it in general, but we all know what we were talking about. So some of those admin services or project management services, the billings will go down as we take more in-house, but some of these specific supplemental agreements may or may not have that same effect. Yes, they will be helping with project, but if it still costs them or they're still doing one project. It's like the master plan, for example. If we contracted with Cochrane to do the master project, it's one project. Now, whether we had more staff assisting them or not, that still may be the cost of their service to produce that document. So yes and no.
Okay. then
So
We
if I
have
can
a
fit-
master agreement. The master agreement, you will see that up and down.
Okay, so does that, I guess my point is, I have no problem with the $214,000, or I'm sorry, the $122,757 to design the road, okay? I'm concerned that if we're, quote, contracting for the $92,000, then that's not gonna give us the ability to utilize we're basically saying, you got the contract, you're gonna do the work, all right? Now, if what we really have here, in my history terms, is a master PO, and they can bill up to that amount if they utilize those services, instead of we are contracted and you will perform these services, that's a different story. But I keep hearing the word contract, but then I hear supplemental agreement. So I'm not sure I understand the distinction.
I don't know enough about the details of the particular, what's in this supplement agreement to answer that, but in theory, yes, if there's services we move in-house, then their billable hours will go down. Now, whether that is tied specific to this supplement agreement, Dave would have to answer that.
I mean, I don't know if this helps the conversation, but if you bring in an in-house city engineer and you don't need our services on the inspection work, then we don't perform that work and we don't bill you for it, and you probably wouldn't budget for it to pay us that in 2024.
That's fine. I'm just concerned that if we contract for that, then that would be an expectation that we would want you to do that work, and we'd expect to be billed for that work. And so that's why I'm a little concerned. But if that's not going to be a problem, I don't want to make a big deal, okay?
I can tell you from our business practice standpoint,
Okay, fair
if we
enough.
don't perform the work, we're not gonna expect to bill you for it.
All right, fair enough.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Any other comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Clarification. Do we fix it, Taro? Do we fix the problem on this one? In your packet is Bill number 2318, and we are approving Bill 2317.
Nope, it's fine, because the
So
ordinance is still there.
Just so you're aware, the ordinance that's in the packet is not what we're actually approving tonight, because what's in there is Bill number 2318. Bill number 2317 is what we're approving. That's the same bill as last meeting, but didn't make it to the packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my proofreader. I'm gonna start sending him here's the pre one, take care of it for me.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'm confused on that, and so is Phyllis.
Oh,
So
okay.
2317 was the bill that was presented at the last agenda.
Correct, and it's the one that should be in this one, but if you look at behind the blue sheet, you got Bill number 2318. It's the wrong one.
That's where I wasn't picking up what you were
Yeah,
saying.
Bill number 2318 is wrong.
Okay.
Had a rough packet month.
Bill number 2317 is what we're approving, not what's in the packet.
Correct.
Okay.
Just an error in the packet,
But
that's all.
nothing has changed. The only thing that changed from last month is I added the March 16th date on there. It's the only thing that changed.
All right.
Sorry, I go through the packet and look at everything.
I appreciate it, thank you.
How dare you?
All right, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Becker. Alderman Rose, second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Now we can move on to 2318, right, Alderman Rucker? All right, Bill 2318, ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a 3-year master service order agreement with AirSpring for internet service for an amount not to exceed $42,743.40 annually, plus applicable taxes and fees. This is the second reading. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I have nothing further to add unless there's any questions.
All right, comments, Alderman Rose.
I have a question, and I've read through it, even on the terms, and I can't find it. It's a 3-year service agreement, but I don't see any warranty.
Well, this
Did I overlook it?
there's really no warranty needed
A
for this.
warranty on-
We're
Well,
not,
because it always states that, well, if we go default and all this, well, then we will be fined and da-di-da-di-da, but there's nothing like if there's something went wrong with some equipment. I'm just saying, I just thought there'd be a warranty of some sort.
the equipment that we're getting for this project is their equipment. We're leasing the equipment. Their job is to maintain the equipment. So there's no need for us to have a warranty if we're not buying the
Okay.
equipment.
Okay.
At the end of the 3 years, unless we were to renew at that time, they would come and they would take their equipment.
Gotcha.
And then we
Okay.
would hire someone else to bring in the equipment that would replace it.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Ross. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rose. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Woohoo, and there were no mistakes in that one.
Second reading passes. All right, and did anybody else think about Tommy Boy when she was talking about warranties? All right, sorry, but that's where my mind went right away. All right, Bill 23-19, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to assign a 5-year agreement with Forward/Technologies for the installation, phone service, management, and support of a new on-premise voice over IP phone system for an amount not to exceed $79,649.35. Second reading. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I will, since warranty was just brought up, I will go ahead and say right up front, this equipment we are owning, and I don't remember whether I put it in the actual notes or not, but this equipment all has a 3-year warranty on it. I'm happy to answer any other questions. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Rucker, do I have a second? Alderman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. On to new business. Bill 23-22, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending the Osage Beach Code of Ordinances by repealing and replacing Schedule 1 speed limits, Table 1A speed limits of the Osage Beach Municipal Code, Chapter 320, speed regulations. This is the first reading. Chief Davis, please.
Mayor and members of the board, this is a request to repeal and replace the speed table in our Code of Ordinances. We've received a request from a resident on Dogwood Lane, which is down off of Dude Ranch Road, to reduce the speed limit in the subdivision from 25 miles an hour to, or just reduce it, I should say. While we don't have any support of speeding complaints, there is a lot of pedestrian traffic on that roadway, and the streets are narrow. I've reached out to Cochran Engineering, and the design guide specifically lists the road as a local street with recommending the speed limit is 25 mile per hour design code. But once they got in and looked at the actual streets in the subdivision, it corresponds to a 15 mile an hour speed limit. We're gonna recommend that the speed limit be reduced to 15 mile per hour per the design guide. And that will also include the streets of Dogwood Lane, Apple Blossom, Cherry Blossom, and Peach Blossom. Also, some changes to the speed table that were inadvertently not completed at the time of the previous approved changes. One of them being the school zone is actually listed on Dude Ranch Road instead of Nichols Road. And KK, State Highway KK, or State Route KK was actually left off, as well as a couple spelling errors on some other stuff. If anybody has any questions on the design guidelines, I'm sure Dave could help us with that. But Police Department recommends approval for the speed table.
Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
So this basically all began with a single complaint or request from a resident in the neighborhood.
Correct.
I'm just curious, I know Tyler lives in that neighborhood. My father is the vice president of the HOA. Kelly, you own property in that neighborhood. I was just curious on if the HOA was ever consulted. Residents, it was just kind of one person complained, and we said, okay, let's change the speed limit.
Correct. With that, we reached out to Dave, or the
curious.
Cochran, for the guidelines. That's the,
So the request was supported by our engineer?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alderman Ross.
So I don't really know this intimately, but I'm on Google Maps or whatever I'm on looking at this, and I see how Dogwood Lane from Hardwood Lane north, or maybe, I think that's north,
Correct.
where it splits, Dogwood
Cherry
Lane,
Blossom.
Peach Blossom, Cherry Blossom, all that. I'm sure that's highly residential, and I'd understand that. I guess I'm a little confused, and please, I have no passion, but should we be doing this from Dude Ranch Road down to Hardwood Lane also?
Let me clarify that. I did leave that out. It would only reduce it from the entrance into the subdivision, from Hardwood.
Which
where
is
you
basically
talked about,
Hardwood Lane?
Down into the subdivision, correct.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Sorry
to
about that.
You and Phyllis?
Alderman Becker.
Alderman Osteen, to answer your question, it was a single resident complaint, but I certainly agree with it.
Yeah. And Mr. Smith lives right at that junction of the three-way, so he's got the highest traffic area in the neighborhood, actually.
I mean, those streets are so narrow, there's not even a center line painted on them. I mean, yeah, you know that, but
Yeah.
they're pretty narrow.
All right, any other comments from the board? Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, first reading passes. Bill 23-23, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 21.78, adopting the 2022 annual budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenditures to add an employment position. This is the first and second reading. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. I did send out, upon request from Alderman Ross, kind of a draft summary of the changes to the city engineer job description, so I hope that helped. Basically, the budget amendment for you is because we didn't go through this process at budget, I'm asking to go ahead and start the process of a city engineer position. I know I gave you kind of a summary of my analysis. Now, if you want something more in-depth, there's a lot of data and pulling that got to those short 2 paragraphs that I got in. I'll be happy to share with you, offline, all those details that went into that. But anyway, basically, I'm asking to amend the budget, therefore to fund the placement of this position in this year's budget.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
I've always been a supporter of this position, FYI. Gina, could you give us more of a breakdown? Not at this point, but we're stating in the agenda that we're doing a estimated salary and benefits of 145. Can we break that down or give us more information on what is the actual salary range?
Well, I will
plus
actually tell you,
benefits?
I brought that anticipating that question. I do have a call in to CBiz just to verify. We did have all our jobs reviewed and did a market study on all positions for the city back in late 2019, late 20 for 21. I don't think I'm saying that. No, I'm sorry. 21 and 22. Last year we did. So all the jobs, even some previous positions, because we weren't sure when the city city engineer would come back up. So I am waiting to double check with our consultant to make sure the marketability is still relatively same if nothing major happened in the last 12 months. Level 14, which the beginning salary is in the mid 80s and it goes up to 130 something. Benefits citywide are anywhere from 35 to 45,000 value. Depending on what package and some of those things. So I did estimate that around 145. I do expect the offer to be well within the first quarter, which sometimes we're on the lower depending on the market. But like I stated in there, the solicitation of the job and the applicant quality and or quantity might tell us more where that marketability is. But I have done up-to-date research, again, still waiting on CBiz, because again, we adopt a pay plan that goes through a consultant, and we did have all jobs reviewed, so we'll see. But yeah, that's the range.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
People always put things in generalizations when they say salary and benefits, but I'm always curious, what's the breakdown on the
No,
salary versus the
I
benefits?
expected that question.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Alderman Ross.
So a couple of things. One, the level 14, I'm not a CBiz person, okay? But as I look at the responsibilities and the licensing requirements for a professional engineer, I would challenge to say that this should be at least level 15, okay?
I'll be glad to get you a further, more professional answer. I mean, I understand how the marketability study and level, and our levels are just where the pay ranges are. You can't compare it job to job. You've got a group of job positions in one level, but that's not because those positions should all be compared to each other. It just happens to fit where that marketability fit. So it is very, we often have to explain that to employees. Just because you're grouped with, and again, I'm not picking on any position, because just because maybe a police officer's grouped with a certain level of park technician, we're not comparing a police officer to a park technician. It just happened to fall in that matrix of where that dollar is. And that consultant, what they do when they do nationwide as well as semi-regional market comparison on what would be that marketability, supply demand, that changes jobs. So I will get you on more details, because you're right, every job has certain education requirements and, the higher level position. And then also city engineer, like even myself or most of us, unlike police officers or paramedics they don't really have a open market in the private industry job. Like I can do my job for the private industry, where police officers are normally municipalities. That also changes how their national and marketability search is. So I will push that to him. Again, I am still waiting to see what has changed with that. I just didn't get that by the time this summary.
Okay, and so just as a quick note, I'm looking at the budget book because Tara handed them out, okay? And level 15 has a lower top-end rate than level 14,
I
which,
was looking over your shoulders, waiting for
No.
him to finish.
which may,
That could be an error.
so there
I
might be an
will-
error. I'll
yes.
just leave it at that and move on.
Definitely
So the last
check
thing
that.
is, where is this funding coming from?
Well, I anticipate a couple different things. What I'm hoping as we bring down billing from our outside consultants, that will balance to a certain degree. I can't tell you how close to dollars that will be. If not, this job is part of the general fund. So general fund is what funds the city engineer. However, at the end of every year, I do what I call administrative reimbursement. So indirectly, the funds that this position uses up, the time used up for this position ultimately get charged to the different enterprise funds. In fact, I do a lot of cost tracking because of the administrative reimbursement that we do at the end of the year. So yes, it is place marked in the general fund. I'm hoping with time, as billing goes down, that counteracts that. But in inevitability, if transportation takes up 80% of this person's time, then transportation fund reimburses general fund.
Okay, and that would have been funding that would have been sent to Cochran instead of?
Correct.
From, okay, I understand. Well, I support this position too, and I hope that we're successful, because I think it's a huge position for the city. That's all I have, thanks.
Alderman Becker.
Gina, when you say the salary falls well within the first quarter, are you talking the lower end of that range or the top end of that range?
The lower.
This particular one is closer, I think I estimated low second quarter. I did not bring that math with me where I did that. But
Okay, so-
when I mentioned the first quarter, so we have, our salary ranges are separated into quartile 1, 2, 3, and 4. The idea is that midpoint is you've been in your position, you understand the organization, you're at your peak, you've peak point. You've passed through your probation, you've passed through the first year, which are, growing pains regardless of you're new. So the idea is to get employees to the midpoint, which is your true marketability.
So the higher end of the spectrum would be in the first quarter, correct?
No, that'd be fourth. First
Oh,
is the
okay.
low,
Okay.
fourth is the top end. And
Okay.
when new employees come in, our rule of thumb is you determine what your job expectations, the job description is, how much above and beyond they have of that. So I do have a factor. Everything's about numbers with me. I know Mike's shaking his head. So say an employee comes in and we say that we want them to have 5 years progressive municipal experience and they have 10. Okay, that might gain them a few more percentages above the floor to kind of, or they have more education than we asked. But the idea is if you meet the job description, you're coming in at the lower end, somewhere between the 0 to 10% of your first quartile. And that's how we practice for consistencies. And as you get merit increases and as you gain experience, your goal is to get to the midpoint. And then after you've been at your job a while, you're into the third and fourth quartile, which is the top.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
I have an opportunity to have two MoDOT engineers and a retired MoDOT engineer who's this engineer for Arnold, I think. And I was telling them that we were considering this, and I just asked them, what is it going to take from a salary standpoint? And what I will tell you is that it will take at least the midpoint, based on their conversation. And MoDOT isn't really known to be the high price payer of engineering services, okay? That it'll take the midpoint or above in level 14. And so that doesn't quite line up with the first quartile.
And I
Just
have
FYI.
that, that's why I've got my call. I've just not got to confirm that. But like I said, the marketability of this will be a true
Sure.
test when we start
Sorry.
recruiting.
All right. Alderman Osteen.
Another comment, and this goes back to Richard's discussion regarding level 14 versus level 15. Gina, can you pull from previous employment, since we did have this position at one point in-house, to see basically how we categorize it at that point? Was it, obviously the levels have changed, pay scales changed, but once again, not comparing apples to apples with positions, but see where we had the previous city engineer logged with police chief, assistant city administrator, et cetera, just to give us an idea of what we previously categorized them at as levels.
When we did our full compensation study, we included this one because I wasn't sure when it would come around again. And level 14 was that one. Now, the floor and the ceiling's been adjusted a little bit, so that's why I have a call in to him to just double check that, because it's been, a year and a few months since then, maybe even a year and a half. So that's the level it left as.
So in the previous position, when we had it in-house, it's on par to where we have them now. I was just
Correct.
curious on
Yep.
past versus what we're looking forward to doing, so.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other thing? Anybody? Let me start all over. Anybody else? I was going to say something. No, we've been talking about this for quite a bit with some of the aldermen, and I fully support this as well, and nothing against Cochran. It's just, it goes back to the whole customer service aspect. And when somebody comes in, when they're a developer and they want to talk to the building inspector or the building official, and then they say, well, we're going to have to send this to an outside source. Well, now they can go right down the hall and talk to the city engineer as well. And as far as servicing to the citizens of Osage Beach, I love this. So I just wanted that out there as well. This is the first and second reading. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Osteen. Alderman Ross, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Second reading, Bill 23-23, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 21.78, adopting the 2022 annual budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenditures to add to employment position. Second reading, any other comments or discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So move.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Good stuff. All right, Bill 23-24, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, repealing ordinance 19-01 and vacating a portion of the right-of-way of Osage Beach Road. This is the first and second reading. City Planner Kerry Patterson.
I get to address this one? Okay, so this is a vacation that we did back in 2019. It was a portion of property that was adjacent to Osage Beach Road, right as you turn into Osage Beach Road, on the old, what was the ice cream place's name? Alderman Rucker? Arnold's. So where Arnold's used to sit, this is a portion of the right-of-way that used to sit there that we vacated. And basically what happened was, I'm pretty sure this was Tara's very first ordinance.
It was already in the packet.
So what happened was, is
got to
they
sign it.
actually previous city clerk went back and grabbed the ordinance from a 2017 vacation, changed the legal description, that's right, but the benefactor was wrong in the one that ended up getting recorded at the county. So I received a call from a property representative saying, what's going on? Because the wrong people now have title to this property, and it, any vacation actually goes to the property owner of the adjacent property. So what we had to do was repeal the ordinance that had the wrong benefactor and put in a new ordinance that has the appropriate benefactor, which is the owner of the property that Arnold's was on. So, cleaning up.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So move.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second? Second. Alderman Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Bill 23-24, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, repealing ordinance 19.01 and vacating a portion of the right-of-way of Osage Beach Road. Second reading.
Okay, go ahead.
Comments or questions from the board? You're going to say I already read that one, right?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, roll call, please.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes.
packet to put another mistake on there.
All right, next we have Bill 23-25, ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 21.78, adopting the 2022 annual budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenditures and revenue related to grants received. This is the first reading. Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. One of the motions you have applies to this, so I thought I would go ahead and add all the county funds. We did get additional ARPA funds from the county, as well as additional ARPA fund through another level. And this is just amending the budget to recognize these one-time funds coming into 2023.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Nobody has any comments about money coming in? Alderman Ross.
Well, okay, so number one, it says additional ARPA funds from Camden County, $101,000. So do we have those designated as what we plan to do with them yet?
Yes, per the grant application, and
So is that in here that I missed?
the expenses may be in a different time. I just know we've officially got word we're getting them, so I'm going ahead and fixing the revenue line item. But those
Okay.
funds are already associated with funds in the budget partially. When and if Mike's piece to that comes before the board, if it needs to be, then the expense side may need to be amended. And I say this like I'm not sure, because these are three pieces to grants, and partial of one of these we were not aware of until we'd already got the 23 budget. So I had put all other expenditures associated are included in the 23 budget.
So then I guess I'll ask this question. In that number one, the $101,000, are we considering a new work order management system?
Mike can
Yes.
give you
Computerized
details of
maintenance
what's.
management system?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I needed to know, thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Alderman Rose.
May I ask, I'm sorry, I don't know, what does ARPA stand for?
That's the American Rescue Plan Act. That
America
went-
what?
American Rescue Plan Act that has been going around a couple years, and President Biden put more money into it, so it's lingering, there's still those lingering funds.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Second. Alderman Schuman, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Next, we have a motion to approve the purchase of laptops, docking stations, power supplies, and extended warranties from Turnkey Mobile off the Jasper County Sheriff's Office Cooperative Contract Number JCS 02001001 at a price not to exceed $53,000. Chief Davis, please.
Mayor and members of the board, this is part of that ARPA grant that Janine, talking about the wife instead of Gina, names are too close, that request to purchase the laptops, docking stations, power supplies, and extended warranties. This will allow us to issue each officer a laptop, and at the same time, we'll be reducing the number of desktop devices that we have in the police department. This purchase is fully funded by the Camden County ARPA grant that we just received, and it did come in under budget after we reduced one of the laptops, because when we first applied for the grant, we had a quote of laptop prices that were lower than what the most current bid came in as. The police department recommends approval.
All right, very good. Comments or questions from the board?
That's without the shipping cost.
Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Without it.
Motion to
Alderman
approve.
Rucker, a second. Alderman Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right, last item under new business. Motion to modify the original purchase price for the purchase of a 2023 F450, 193-inch, I don't know what WB stands for, 4x4, 7.3L V gas engine with liquid spring suppression system, and a 2022 Osage 168-inch Warrior Conversion Type 1 Osage ambulance for emergency service supply for a final price not to exceed $243,931. And boy, is it a beautiful piece of machinery. So, any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Becker.
I have a question. Is the vendor not locked in to a contract price? Have we been over this before? I just find that,
Disconcerting.
This purchase, like my comments say, the original bid on the chassis was not locked in. It said on the bid itself that it was subject to pricing. I did try to go after that and say, hey, our bid said this, but when we looked at it, it does say estimated price.
They included good enough weasel words in it.
Yeah, Cole and I had this discussion before I put everything together for this. The mid-year price increase on the chassis is what the difference of this $3,931 is.
thank you.
And as the mayor said, we did take delivery of it today, and it's up front. So,
Any more comments or questions from the board? All right, motion to approve.
Motion to
Alderman
approve.
Osteen, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, next we're going to move into staff communications, and how do you want to handle this first one, Gina?
Well, that was gonna be my question, is like, I think we've got a process lined out. You got your first list, and I know Alderman Ross has already got a couple other items ready to be added to it, and I plan on doing that with each meeting. I'll let you guys determine when they fall off or what they get added. Staff and I, we discussed all this at staff meeting. We're just looking for your direction. You know, specifically want the applicable staff member
Yes.
to touch every one of these each time. If that's the intention, we kind of assumed that. So you just tell us, and lucky me, I get to go first and.
Well, the first step, obviously, was to implement some type of plan for accountability, resolution, et cetera, which is great, we've got the list, but I think to take another step further, you are correct that we probably need to, in this list, assign a specific individual or department that basically, during the staff communications, they should be addressing items on this list, give us an update, timeframes, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's pretty much what I discussed in staff meeting until determined otherwise. So I did not put the staff names on the side, but if I realize they're missing them, I'll go to that link, but they all should know which ones apply to them.
Well, it would help us as well, because
Okay,
once
well,
again,
if you
a lot of
want
times
that
forgetting
informa-
on who
Then
am I
will
looking to for answers?
definitely add the
Correct.
departments, okay. That is no problem. So with that being said, Kevin Rucker, I'm gonna start with your Camden County property tax question, and I know that's something that I've really got to get Cole caught up on. That was kind of a pending thing that Ed and City Treasurer and I were working on, so I apologize, Alderman Rucker, I have no further update on that, but Cole and I and City Treasurer will be.
Time out. Okay. Since you started, is it appropriate, since you're the first guinea pig, we'll pick on you.
Sure.
If we have questions on that specific one, would it be appropriate for the staff member to report on it like you have then? And then to take them, rather than you staff go through everything and then at the end, I say, okay, this one, I mean, would it be appropriate to deal with it that way?
One at a time.
I would suggest yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't forget about it.
Okay. Well, with that being said then,
Oh, wow.
I have before me a piece of information that I want to share with the board why this is important, an item as far as I'm concerned. This is the Camden County report as of March 17th, 2023, and this is their financial report as of January 1. At the end of the year of 2022, there was $16,145.12 in the Camden County Treasurer dedicated to Osage Beach. But if you also look at this, and I'll give this to Gina, there's a number of taxing entities that have 0 next to theirs because they've been given the money. This is why item has brought up, because we get money from Camden County once a year. They collect it every month, and they're not giving us our money like they do other taxing entities by the month, and I believe we're not getting any interest on that. That's some of the clarification, that if you're going to keep our money, they're supposed to give us interest. So there's some more info for you.
Thank you. Hold on, I'm writing notes.
So my question is this Osage Beach Special Road District money, or this is Osage
No, this
Beach
is
money?
this is our city money.
Is this money that comes through the county from the state? Or
Okay.
where's this money come from?
I'm 99% sure I have the answer. And this has been an ongoing research for many, many, many months. And one of the tools, or one of the way to answer that question is to get the Camden County treasurer, who issues the check, to verify where the money comes from. That's what they're supposed to do.
That's where it
Yes.
started.
Yeah, that's where it all started, because Gina thought it came from one where, and I thought it came from another, and so we're trying to figure out where it does, and we're trying to get that piece of information. They should know where the money comes from.
We're not sure
Okay,
yet.
they should know.
they don't
There's a couple places it could come from, okay? But I believe it comes from the fact that the Camden County has a road and bridges tax. And I don't have my file with me, but there's a statute that says when they pass that, they have to pass on, I believe it's 25% of what the property is in that city
On to us.
onto that city. So they can take 75% of the money that's in our city in this, but 25% they have to give to each city, so the city can use it for their roads and stuff. And that's where I'm 99% sure it's coming from, okay? There was some, there's a lot of stuff going on in the county, as I'm sure some of you are aware of.
Right.
Okay, and I'm privy to some of it because Mr. Schmidt has chosen to hire my wife as their city, or as their administrator. So I get privy to some of that stuff, and there is some stuff going on with the special road district, and there was some thought that some of the special road district money was coming to us inappropriately. I do not believe that is the case, though. But again, all this comes back to
Gray area.
coming back to the thing to say, hey, county, you send us this check. Why are you sending it to us? Tell us where it's coming from. And then we can go back, I believe, then we can go back and start rattling some of the statutes and saying, well, why are you giving it to us once a year? Why
So it
aren't you
really
giving it
is
to
like,
us?
what's the calculation? Because
Yes.
it is a county road property tax. What's the calculation to ensure they're calculating it right? And then two, why don't we get money regularly instead of the end of the year?
Okay.
And it's in our transportation under taxes, county road property tax. And it's around 70 to 75, 74,000 a year.
And so have we made our county commissioner that covers Osage Beach aware of this question and concern?
I have not.
County, no, we've had conversations, and city treasurer, I apologize, Carrie's not here, she's kind of tag teaming on this as far as the other county offices.
Okay.
Some of it is
And
all
we're
this-
and if I can, we're waiting information. Is that right? Okay. Thank you. That's all I need.
The other item on there, the capital replacement plan for the joint sewer board. So just to give a little quick update.
Hang on, can we back up a minute? Once again, it's a fluid process, this is brand new to us, so moving forward with what we're doing now. So that, you were the guinea pig, that was the first question, or first item brought up. What's the follow-up to this? Do we now, in our next meeting packet, have a list of questions on information we were wanting answered, i.e., where is this revenue coming from exactly? Why are we not getting paid on a monthly basis as other city entities are? Or I'm not sure, once again, how to keep expanding on this list. Would that be beneficial to all of us if, or do we just keep it on the list as
Don't know
just
that I-
updates for
I don't know that I understand what you're
county road
asking me.
property? Well, we wanted an update on the information on this master list.
So to me, it stays on that list
So it stays on the
until
list, but I'm just
it
curious
gets
if we want
answered.
to, then subhead under that, items that we specifically pinpointed we want information on.
I will track whatever.
I think
you
that's
need
too
me
much.
to track.
I think that.
I agree.
You think that'd be
that's
too much?
too
I'm
much
just-
information.
Once again, it's
that we
fluid,
need
I'm
to
just trying to
put
feel
in
everybody
there.
out on how to do it.
Okay, yeah. keep it on.
Continue, Gina.
Yeah, I think that we keep it top line, and then if we can ask the questions as the subject comes up, and if needed, we can always add, but I don't see a reason to get that detailed.
So each individual will basically make their own notes on what was brought up under that heading, then report back at the next meeting if that continues to carry over on the next agenda.
Because it's on the list, hopefully.
Yeah.
We know why our pieces are on the list, but if further information needs, yes, hopefully we're.
Like I said, just trying to
That's
flesh
why
out the
I was like,
process.
make it
There's
more.
obviously going to be a
No.
learning curve because it's
Fine.
something new.
So the capital replacement plan for joint sewer board, as you know, Alderman Rucker and the mayor and I and Kevin Crooks are all part of the city's portion of the board. And the joint sewer board, for years have worked through a capital replacement, but Gary Hutchcraft down at the plan has done a good job of really catching up, similar to what we do. You know, what do we own? When's a replacement plan? When do we replace it? And that type of thing. So I don't know if I volunteered or got voluntold. I'm not sure how
You got
that.
volunteered. I volunteered you to help me.
I'm going to put together the information for the joint sewer board, get with Gary Hutchcraft, and put it to more of like a formalized working, living document to be part of the joint sewer board's budget process. So that was another one of that we know we're working on. So I'll squeeze it in. I'll get it in there. But yeah, Gary Hutchcraft actually did most all the work. There's it's just. I'll do what I've done.
Just
Mhm.
building the
Yeah.
Excel sheet, which I cannot do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what that item is on that one. The next one for me is the incentive guideline. So Mitch has helped tremendously on that. As you all know, we all met and we still had like 7 different opinions on what level of detail and what the standards were. I did get recommendations that, when Mike Sparkerman's been helpful. Jeff White actually is going to be more helpful now that he's on board. We even had a few developers, if you recall, talking about how do we revise our TIF guidelines should there be gaps, which I think we agree that there are some gaps. In addition to that, when I'm looking at TIF, we really need to do the same for the CID, TDD. We have the 353 and the 100. So my idea was to put it in one big document. Well, Mitch and I looked at it like, okay, this is way too much. So we're still focused on the TIF. In the meantime, we do have this TIF process going through. And it's actually been very, very helpful for me to follow the guidelines as things are helping with this TIF process. Now, we are getting ready to have our final redevelopment agreement, hopefully before the board. That's where the guts of where you want some of those TIF guideline details to be. So in addition to just getting behind and other things happening, watching and being part of this TIF process, which is it's an unprecedented large amount of TIF money and different variables that's hitting it, it is being helpful on how to direct it. I'm really honestly thinking about simplifying it before I bring it back to you guys. I know Ed and Alderman Rucker did a lot of work, but in researching other cities, it's like, keep it simple. Here's where the baseline we want to be, and every project is so different. And I will tell you, even if we had adopted the last version, which I know still had some work, but if we had adopted that last version, this current TIF process still wouldn't have, so I'm struggling with all the I don't want to change these guidelines every time the next new unprecedented project comes up. So I'm taking my time for a purpose, not just because I did get behind for other things. So shorter answer is it's still coming, but there's still a lot of hurdles. And so you will probably see more of a simplified version, which is being recommended by some of our consultants and stuff. And so it's still in process.
And Mark Spikerman and I have had some conversations about that as well. There are actually a couple of our guidelines right now that would that if we followed them, and they are guidelines, but if we followed them rigidly would essentially mean that we could not bond any projects. So there's some things that we need to make sure are flexible. We do flex on them.
Well, we do, and I know Cole, this was prior to him, but when we met in that workshop, I will be honest with you, when I consolidated and took all your guys' input and questions, I didn't feel more like I had a straight path from there, because it was still kind of wide range. So I'm struggling to put some analytics to it just to I'm not gonna make everybody happy. It's two spectrum, but with this new process coming through, that is also helping as we add new things. So I do apologize it's not done. I know that a lot of you have been like, I wanted this in January, I wanted this in January. And it wouldn't have mattered if we'd had something in January, we still would have been off kilter. So I would rather it be right than rushed, but that's my opinion.
Just one word of wisdom, because the same words of wisdom were given to me by our prior attorney when I came in with my first draft to him, and he said, no, this is not an ordinance. This is guidelines. So we got to remember that. It's guidelines. It's not black and white like our ordinances are, and that's what we want, guidelines. So remember that, Gina. Guidelines.
But
And that's very
guidelines
hard
still
for-
need to be from
That's hard
here
for
to
me
here.
to put my arms around it too, because I'm so black and white.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
So what is our current targeted completion date?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I was going to ask it at the end.
Well, if we can, I would like to get more of a conclusion on the current TIF development in the works. I know the goal for that one is to have a agreement draft to staff first of, well, it could be the end of this month, because I know the end result is they want to come before the board, depending on what happens at the TIF commission, potentially, let me back up because I don't want to speak ahead of the TIF commission. Should the TIF commission proceed whichever way, to land on the boards, on the dais, for an agreement, the target is May. I want to see that agreement and some of those things that ends up being negotiated out of that. So with that being said, I would love to have something to you in June. I know that keeps like, oh my gosh, that's 2 more months, but that agreement that will be negotiated out is still to be determined. We haven't seen any guts of that. I really need that final piece to shore this process up, because that's really where some of your clawbacks and standards that were across the board between the developers, between all of you at the workshop, and between our consultants, those details was really where I couldn't even get guidelines that were within some spectrum. So short answer is June.
You may want to rethink that, because the first Alderman meeting in June is June 1st.
Well, I didn't say what meeting
Didn't
is.
say what meeting in June.
You said 2 months? No, we're talking 6 weeks.
I think it should be the second meeting in June, because
I was gonna say-
I'm going to be on vacation.
I was going to say, based on prior history.
Well,
I just
and
pulled the
let me
calendar and realized
clarify. I
June
would-
1 is our first meeting.
I
I'm like,
want to
phew.
get you guys a draft
Sounds like August.
by email before we even go before we can go to the board. So I want you guys to be looking at this draft before we get to the board. So when I say to you guys in June, I didn't mean ready for official decision. That takes however long, but that is truly pending on how fast or thorough the agreement negotiation for the development agreement for the current TIF goes. Because I don't pretend you're going to take the first draft and be ready to adopt it by resolution. There's going to take some workshop, or even through email, or some comments and suggestions and some rework, so. Oh, I have 2 more. Really, Tantera master plan, I know is more the public works side, but the contract details, that's really, I'm going to tag team with Cole. Cole and I actually have art, and I know he's got stuff on his plate. Very, very shortly, I had stated to him, it's like, we really need to get in those contract details and research the legalities of some of my rate structure ideas, because I really want to be starting the DNR process of rate review. Again, June must be the fancy month, but I really want to have something to start that process, because I know that will take a bit. So between operations and between legal, they may have an update on that, but that one also loops into me, because the rate review for assessment of a certain area, it's got to go through some processes, and we do need to weed out that contract, because this change will likely require a new negotiated contract with Tantera. And engineering services, well, I just gave you my short, brief evaluation. Like I said, appreciate the budget amendment. We'll get on that. If you want more detail of the weeds on where all the data research come from and those details, you can ask me offline. I just really wasn't gonna put my work papers in the public packet, but I'll be happy to share with you. I know it was 2 short paragraphs, but that really was a lot of data, and I appreciate Cochran for assisting with that. This wasn't a surprise to Cochran. They kind of knew what our plan was. We're gonna have a couple other engineers come on board to kind of help with spreading out for some inspection stuff. So that's, and to my mind, that concluded that. I am not gonna speak in depth of the IT service, but Michael Bean is not here, but Mike Welty, I know they're working on the details because at the end, I do want to see that as well, so.
Back on the Tantera, the dates you and I had, that you had given to me in our meetings, was summer.
For the dates for what? What piece of that?
Well, summer was going to be DNR, I thought, and I just wonder if we're still online, still.
I would, that is still online. June, like I said, June must be my, oh gosh, help me, I make it to June, but if I'm not started some kind of process with DNR on that rate review for their end, I'm afraid it'll take too long. But we've got to kind of bring in the legal, bring in the contract, so yes, June is, if I don't have something to them and that started, then I feel like it'll take too long.
And then I thought that you were talking about that September, October, we would be ready to approve a plan.
A new rate structure?
No,
Or-
a fix-it plan,
Oh, the master
a
plan.
master plan.
This is all kind of go in tandem, because they've, I'm not gonna speak for Kevin, but Kevin and Dave, but I know they have worked on the pieces. We just gotta pull in the financing. Yep. We already know what the estimated cost at that point in time recently, what that cost. It's now the pulling in the contract and the financing pieces.
So will it be something before the board to make some decisions by September?
I'm gonna put a big question mark. Depends how fast I can get through DNR and the legal stuff. But yes, that is my goal. I can't promise because there's too many
Okay,
variables I
okay.
can't control.
And Ed did leave me quite a stack of stuff, but that has reached the top of that particular stack. Other stacks have grown since then, but that is actually the top thing on my desk, physically on my desk right now.
Alderman Ross?
So I would just, I would just say that the current contract details are critical to any master plan that may be developed. Based on what I'll just say this, my belief is there's not going to be any additional revenue towards any master plan until 2028, but we'll let Cole decide that over time. But it is critical that we have this for our strategic planning session.
Okay.
Not the master plan necessarily, but the
contract.
contract assessment and options, if we have any, okay? I think it's critical that we have that for our strategic planning session. And I would hope that we can have that.
In
for
June?
then.
Oh,
In June,
yeah,
yes.
that's-
Yes.
Yep. June 27th.
I would hope to have a first read, a first deep dive through
Anytime
it.
before, that's great.
By the
But I
next-
think
by the
that
next board meeting,
we need
but-
to- And maybe it's better to have it before then so that we can think through it, talk through it, figure it out with ourselves, and then have a more intelligent conversation, for lack of a better term, during the strategic planning. But this is a big albatross hanging out there around long-term strategic planning for our city based on
Well,
what
no-
we've got out there.
And those contract details are still a piece of core of the rate review because, like I told Cole, under the current contract, we're gonna need to negotiate something new because this is gonna be unprecedented for us, and I don't think you're right. So I need that for the core of starting my rates too. It's a piece to all the spoke. It's the hub and the spoke of the wheels. We need it, so
Okay. That's all I have.
that's all I have.
All right, Assistant City Administrator?
Okay. I've got comments on 11 of these items. Please bear with me. I'm just going to go through these. Some of these, as Gina had said, Kevin might have some comments on too. Emergency generator backup plan for the city. As you know, this was part of the ARPA, the state ARPA grant that we didn't get. It's not in the budget for 2023. Kevin and I's plan is to put it in the budget for 2024. Whether or not that will come with some kind of grant funding or not is still up in the air, so I don't know the answer to that. The second comment I have is for Yes, sir.
On the emergency backup generator plan? Okay, that's to purchase our own. What about a plan? We need a plan. If we lose power tonight, what's the plan? And I don't need to know the plan, Kevin, and I mean, I could get into great detail what I think it should be, but you need to be having a plan in place. If you've got a plan in place on where you can borrow generators, where you can take them, where they're at, et cetera, that's fine. But that's all I'm looking for. It's one of my items. Do we have a plan?
Yeah, we do have a plan, Alderman Rucker. It's basically, unfortunately, we're down to rental. I've made contact with the nearest rental. It's near St. Louis. That's a 2-hour drive. So when we have another prolonged Ameren outage, we got to make that decision. Do we start beating feet towards St. Louis to pick it up or not? Or do we wait and hope that Ameren comes back on? But there is a loose plan, but our options are limited right now.
What about FEMA and our local Camden County, because they've got 2 big generators down there?
Yeah, they do. I haven't gone over them to look and see if their generator plugs will basically marry to our plugs. They can be hot wired because we now have a municipal electrician. That can be done in a kind of a hot wire fashion if need be, but I have not touched base with the county. It's a great idea, but when you've got a widespread outage, what are the chances that we get there 1 of 2 generators if the entire area is out of power and straight line wind? So I don't want to hang my hat on something like that.
No, I agree with you 100% if we got a widespread, but if we don't, like we did this last time where it was just a small area, you know, maybe the rest of the county isn't, and that's what they're available for. I mean, these are very big generators.
They are big, and we've had a master water plan which has it in it, a disaster plan. It's you could probably guess it's way outdated, and it's not current anymore. It doesn't address our current, needs as far as water distribution. So that's worth repeating too. Is we should probably look at the plan overall, as you say. But in my head, yes, I have a plan, an action plan. But in terms of redundancy, we're going to be way better off if we depend on us and not another agency.
Alderman Rucker, we have reached out to Camden County and talked to Sam, and we're supposed to be getting together to check the feasibility of the plugs and see if what we have works with what they have. So
The other option that there might be there is that I know that she just lost her
assistant director.
And I know that she is challenging with all the stuff she has to do. It might be nice to offer her that if we housed it here, we would take care of the monthly checks to have it here, and if it's here firsthand in our city, then we have first option on it. So there's opportunity there that you might be able to trade off some things. Thank you.
Move on.
Yes.
All right, the second thing I was going to bring up was design guideline revisions for streetlights. So I'm doing design guideline revisions for all 3 public works departments in conjunction with Kevin, Dave, and the foreman for those departments. Streetlights would fall under the transportation department. I started with sewer because in my opinion, that's where the biggest need is. I'm doing sewer, and Gina has asked me to do water with sewer. Kevin and I are working on that pretty diligently, and we intend to have kind of a rough draft before the Planning Commission and then the Board of Aldermen sometime over the summer. It's kind of a situation where we're meeting on these kind of things once or twice a month and making progress every month. We're really close on sewer, but I want to make sure that we get water and sewer together, so we're kind of tackling water now as well. So our hope is that we're gonna have water and sewer revisions to you guys later this summer, and then move to transportation and take on not just the streetlights, but just review the entire ordinance and guidelines for transportation and do that all together. So that's my plan for that. Yes, sir.
What happened to all the work we did on the lights with a representative from Cochrane? We were asked to go out and go over the streets where they had a certain amount of lighting, and at least I went out, and I know there's a couple of the aldermen that went out, and we went back and forth and did all that, and this is the main reason why I'm glad Bob brought this up and we're doing it, is because that's something we spent a lot of time with, and then it just kind of fell off the end of the earth. Do you know where that work is at?
All that data is still there. It's still there, and if the board would like me to direct me to transfer my attention to that, then I am happy to do that. But I can tell you right now, the bigger problems are in sewer and water.
I guess my problem was, it was my understanding that at that meeting when we went over it with the representative from Cochrane, and we all kind of agreed on what we felt, I thought it was a done deal, and there was not tons of work to be done after that. I guess that's the problem. And apparently there's lots more work to be done after we made our decision quite some time ago. So, okay,
Let's double check where in the process that was.
Why don't you let me at least take a look at that, and as Gina said, revisit that. If it is a situation where I can turn just the streetlight portion around really quickly, then I'm happy to pick that up.
I thought it was in that situation, Mike. I could be wrong.
I'll take a look. All right, now I'm going to jump all the way down to projects, and I have comments on everything in this section. I'm going to kind of marry a few of these together. So the lift station panel replacement and the Swiss Village treatment plant plan were also both on the ARPA grant, and were simply not funded, and so they were not included in the 2023 budget. The thing that we are working on the most right now of those two is the Swiss Village treatment plan. Myself, Zach Wilbur, the water foreman, Kevin Crooks, and Cochrane have all been meeting regularly on this topic. We have identified a mobile, help me with the words here, Dave. Pilot program that we're going to be looking at doing this summer sometime to kind of tweak out what the chemicals would look like and what a larger plan would look like if we wanted to do that. This is still a huge project. This is the project that would solve the manganese problem that we have on the west side with the Swiss Village wells. So the first step on that is just to get this pilot program going, get a little bit more detail into exactly what this treatment plant would look like, and then look at funding sources and how we budget for that over a 2 or 3 year period where we can kind of make that happen. So, and then the other piece of that is the lift station panel replacement plan. And I'm sure Kevin during his time might have some comments on this. The worst of the two is Rockway and Sands, and Kevin is struggling with those really on a daily basis. These are pretty serious things. Kevin and I are bouncing around whether or not we can even wait until 2024 to replace one or both of those. We're hoping to have some pricing on that soon. And then we're going to be talking with EEC to see, hey, is this something where we can Band-Aid this and budget for 2024? Or is this something where we need to go to the board and say, we can't wait? So that's where we are with that. And again, when we get to Kevin, if he has anything to add on that, I'm sure he can add on that. But I think that's the summary of where we are on that. Private street inventory, I've been working with the Special Road District on this over the winter. We work back and forth with Ron and Fred and the rest of the team there. I already have scheduled the road assessment that I had promised the board that we would be doing early this year is scheduled for April the 18th. And we're going to be doing that assessment. I invited Alderman Ross to go with me on that. I don't know I think that may have been the email, sir, that you got while you were hunting, and maybe you missed it. I never heard back from you on that, so
I have it on
we
my
can
calendar.
revisit that after the meeting if you want to come with us. But Eric and I are going to be going out and doing that assessment, and then at the same time, Ron and his commissioners are going to be doing a separate assessment, and we're going to come together after that and kind of compare notes and then bring all that back to the board. So any comments on that right now?
It's right in the middle of the best crappie fishing of the year, so that's that's the only comment I have right at the moment. So I may be a no.
I do have some comments. Once again, a lot of times things fall by the wayside and we kind of forget what had been discussed. But I thought when this was last brought up that we had actually gone knocking on doors on some of these roads and did some research to find out if any of them had any private road agreements that were filed, what roads actually were subject to being included in our inventory as opposed to some that weren't because they've already got deeded roads assessments and agreements to maintain the road on their own. So therefore, they're less likely to want to just pass it over to the city. I seem to remember there was some conversation that some of that work had been done. Somebody had researched if there were private road agreements on any of the roads that we want to take in our inventory.
We
First and
pulled all
foremost.
that information from the county and brought that, the last time I brought this as a discussion, we brought that to the board, and we showed the board that there was nothing of substance on the county records as far as that's
Were
concerned.
any of the roads that we had, there were like 11 or so?
There's about a dozen.
Yeah.
And we've even had a couple more that we've added since then that we're going to include in the assessment. So just to give you the full scope of what I'm doing is, we're doing the road assessment. I'm evaluating the ordinance to see if it needs any changes. And then my goal is to bring all of that information back to the board. I don't know if that's all in one agenda item or not at this point, but bring all that back to the board, discuss it with the board, make sure you guys are comfortable with the direction I want to take it. Or if you guys have a different direction you want me to take it, then we can discuss that at that time. But that is all that research we're kind of in the middle of all that research, and the intent, once I'm done with that research, is to bring it back to the board. Like I said, I'm doing the road assessment on March the 18th, so I don't see any reason why sometime over the summer, maybe in July, this could all come back to the board and we could have a larger discussion on this items or this group of items at that point, and that's kind of the plan right now. Okay, sidewalk master plan. Earlier in the late last year and early this year, I've been working with Dave Christensen with Cochran Engineering on this. Dave and I sat down, we hammered out some updates. Dave has sent me the preliminary information on those updates. I have sent them to Gina, but we have just not had time to sit down and go over them yet. I'd like to go over all those updates with her first, get her comments, see if we need to do another round of corrections with Christensen, and then eventually bring that back to the board again later this summer to kind of discuss that in more detail and see if we have something that the board can kind of wrap their heads around and make a decision about as far as putting those guidelines in place. So that's kind of where we are with that. We already talked about Swiss treatment plan. One comment I will make on the Tantera master plan on the operations side that Gina didn't go over is we are budgeted to do the design work on the El Boquea part of that this year. Cochran has already started that. The goal is for that work to be done this year and then construction next year. So that first piece is on the books, budgeted for the design of that. Construction, according to the plan, is tentatively set for next year. And then, of course, we have that 5-year plan that the board should have. I can get that back out to anybody that wants another copy of that. As far as funding is concerned, right now, from a grant standpoint, I'm kind of roadblocked because the only grants that I'm finding that are available are attached to loans, whether that be SRF or the same program on the federal level. So as far as that's concerned, I don't have anything more to tell you because the only grants I've been able to find are only available to us if we get those SRF loans or the federal version of that as well. So I don't have anything more to say on that. I think that'll all be fleshed out through Gina's and Cole's research once we get to that point, and I'm happy to assist with that. And I continue to look for grants. I just don't see them unless they're attached to the loans. So the next item is Veterans Memorial. So the direction I was given at the board workshops was to that the board likes this idea, but they didn't like the price tag, and they didn't like the fact that there wasn't as much buy-in on the Elks Lodge as there was on the city side. So we've been meeting on this since last November. We feel like we have cut a lot of the red tape on this. Dave and I were supposed to meet on this today, but we didn't get to it. And so I'm sure I'll be talking to him tomorrow more about this. But I think we're probably at a point where sometime in the next 60 days, we're going to be bidding this out and hoping to come. The direction I was given was get this between in like a $60,000 to $70,000 range. The original budget on this that was approved was right, I think around 140. And so the direction I was given to get this down was to get this down in the 60 to 70,000 range. However I could do that. So far, we've been able to kind of work towards that by using the Elks Lodge's pull in the community to find people that are willing to donate materials, donate time. And so I'd say we're about 75% there, and hoping that within the next 30 to 45 days, we can put a bid out and see what that gets us. So more to come probably in the next 60 days on that. But did hear the board's direction and trying diligently to get to that point. Yes, sir.
The comments on the memorial, and this was brought up during the workshops as well. I think one of our biggest concerns was the revenue the Elks was going to receive from the building of the memorial based on their sale of bricks. And that it was our understanding at that point they had no intention of reimbursing the city for our buy-in for the memorial with that revenue they were going to receive from those sales. I think we kind of wanted some clarification on, number one, is their intent to reimburse the city for some of the cost to build this? Because it appears to me at that last conversation, they weren't planning on giving us any portion of the revenue, which I believe was calculated at $500,000 should they sell all the bricks that they're anticipating on selling, which seemed like a pretty large chunk of change for the city to be out X amount of dollars with no reimbursement when they're making a considerable amount of money off of something we're paying for. So that was one of the biggest areas I was questioning on the memorial, not necessarily bidding or time frame. It was, let's get it clear with them on what their expectation is versus what ours is when it comes to the funding, the revenue, et cetera.
Sure thing. So a couple things on that real quick for you, sir. Number one, we originally had thought pretty grand on this project, and we were talking about 5,000 bricks, right? Well, we've kind of rethought that, both the Elks Lodge and the city, and 5,000 bricks I think was kind of pie in the sky. We've changed that number to 1,000 bricks, 4 quadrants, 250 bricks in each quadrant. So that has changed significantly from what it was originally, and we are still in negotiations with the Elks Lodge on exactly how any excess money from that brick program is going to be taken care of, and that information will be solidified, and again, when we bring that to you for approval, those details will kind of be fleshed out, no problem. All right, 2 more things here, 3 more things. Vehicle replacement plan. I'll be honest, I don't know why this is on here. As far as I was concerned, this was kind of...
It's on here because Tyler had a question that came out in an email chain, and so I'll let him ask the question because I answered what I thought what the answer should be, but want you to answer it.
My recollection is there was some difference of opinion on the mileage threshold when we replace vehicles.
So if I remember correctly, and I now that you say that, I do remember responding and providing the basic details that we had put in place there. And if I remember correctly, the person who was most adamantly outspoken about that was Alderman Rucker in relation to categorizing ambulances as a specialty vehicle and putting that 15-year or 10-year threshold on those. And I'll just remind the board that we talked about guidelines earlier. Yes, this is something that you've approved, but again, they are really guidelines. And if you haven't seen already, there's trucks we're getting rid of that don't have 100,000 miles on them because they have problems, and it's just not worth us to keep those vehicles. And there's other vehicles that we've had for 17, 18 years and far exceed the 10-year threshold that we put on there. So my goal is just to continue to do what I'm doing, assess those vehicles, bring them to the board when the department heads tell me that they need to be replaced. And if anybody wants me to handle that any differently, I'm happy to. I'm all ears.
There was just some question in this email chain as to if and what, where, and I clarified back that we did, I even researched the minutes, that we did approve these guidelines.
Okay.
And I was pretty certain the guidelines is what you put forth, and I think clarity was what needed to be done, and we know it's a guideline and it's clarity, and I don't see any reason for it to be continued. If one of the board members doesn't like the plan, obviously we can bring it up to change it, but we've adopted a plan.
Okay, if we've adopted it, then that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I did put that information or confirm that information in the email that I sent out. But yes, it has been adopted. It is a guideline. We are using it and modifying it when we feel it is necessary, but still getting the approval of the board no matter what. All right, so last but not least, well, I actually have two more because there's one thing that isn't on here that I think should be on here. IT service contract evaluation. We have received the evaluation from / Michael and I are reviewing that. There's a little bit of additional data that we want to add to it, and I plan to have that on Gina's desk within the next 2 weeks. Now, how she wants to take it from there, I think is up to her, but my goal is to have it on her desk in the next 2 weeks. All right, and last but not least, it's not on here, but I wanted to just give a quick update on the OB Parkway extension. I've got some good news. We are on the cusp of bidding this out. It has been a long process. There has been a lot of red tape with MoDOT. It is nauseating and it is frustrating, and I am sick of dealing with it, but we are there. We are just dealing with a few little construction easement issues that I'm trying to clear up, and then we will have this out to bid, hopefully within the next 60 days. I know Alderman Ross is very worried about this, but I will tell you, Alderman Ross, that I have 2 contractors that call me on a monthly basis and say, hey, is this ready yet? Is this ready yet? So I don't know for sure whether we're going to get 5 or 6 contractors, but I can guarantee you there's 2 local contractors that are waiting to bid on this.
That'd be great. When contractors that don't have any work to do scare me. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough, fair enough. Anyway, that's all I have unless there's any other questions.
Thank you very much. All right, City Clerk, Tara Barrett.
Oh, yay. I get to go. Okay, I don't have anything on the list, but, which is nice. Yay.
We're gonna fix that.
Well, see what we can do about that.
Now, calm down there, people.
Contractors and city clerks that don't have any work.
Yeah, you just. I just want to let everybody know that we've been processing processing business license and contractors licenses. This year, since January, I've already processed 282 licenses, contractors and business. That's not new, it's just, renewals and updates. I've sent out over 500 business licenses, renewals. Those are done with liquors coming in, liquor renewals are coming in. We started our codification process of our code book. That's all underway. We got that contract signed. We're getting ready to start that. And Bob, I'm working on kennels. So that will be coming forth too. So we can add kennels to the list and then I can have something to talk about. How's that work?
doing it.
Yay, add kennels. All right. Other than that, clerk's office has just been super busy, and We do have 3 peddlers, actually 4 peddlers, food truck vendors that have paid, so they're out there. So we do have 4 of them done, and that's it. I don't have anything else. That's enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Chief Davis.
As everybody knows, the new ambulance came in today. We also received our 2 new police cars. We're waiting on equipment to finish getting them set up. They come in quite a bit quicker this year than they did last year. We didn't get them last year until October. Officer Summer Phillips, our newest officer, successfully completed her field training officer, so she's out on her own now, as of last week. So I wanted to bring that up. I know this might touch a little bit on Michael's, but I'll kind of give you the breakdown on our staffing right now. We're still 5 officers short. That's counting the 1 SRO that you guys approved in this year's budget. So we're 4 in patrol short, 1 in SRO short, and we're still 6 short in communications. We had 4 scheduled to test and interview on Tuesday. We had 1 show up. Unfortunately, that one's not going to work out either. We also had 1 in background for a police officer position, and that one didn't work out either during the background. So we're just not getting the applications. Or when we do get applications, we don't hear anything from them to come back and test or anything like that. We try at least 3 times to contact them over a couple-week period, and after that, if they don't want to call us back, they're probably not going to be a good employee at that anyway. So, but Michael does a great job getting, as soon as he gets it in NeoGov or Indeed sent over to us, we're contacting them either that day or the next day, and we're just not getting any feedback from it. Also today, we went to a career fair of sorts at School of the Osage. We had some people interested in of course, they're still in high school for the communications position, since they can be 18 when we would hire them. But, they're still in school, or they're only looking for a summer job per se, and that really wouldn't work. So, but I think we got some maybe in the pipeline for, when they do graduate and such. So, that's all I've got. Luckily, I don't have anything on the list either at this point.
Oh, see,
All
I
right.
get one too.
I know, that's why I'm not
Gina's
saying it
thinking
real
too. I
loud.
see her wheels. She's like, I'll get all these people on there.
All right. Building official Ron White.
Oh, yeah, a couple of updates for the building inspection, building maintenance department since we last met. Just will let you know that we've issued the permits for the preserve at Sycamore Creek. They're fully permitted for their structures. We've done 3 of the apartment buildings and the clubhouse at this time. Topsider Condos has received their permit for building 3, so just 2 of our bigger projects. Want to let you know about that. Our building department permit application and plans process is now fully digital. We can receive all plans and applications. They're stored digitally. Once we are finished, once the permit is approved, if they've turned in hard copies, we do scan those in, so there will be no more paper copies of our materials. And a big thanks to my staff, especially to Pam Campbell, the secretary, and Lloyd Dunham. They've done a tremendous amount of work on this, getting everything to where we can track and understand. They have done the applications, fillable forms online. Even our inspection sheets are now fillable forms, so we have a little more continuity in all of that. Bid specifications are currently out for the City Hall projects, including the parking lot, sidewalk, the entrance and the exit out here, and our bathroom remodel. There was a carryover, and that's for the upper level bathrooms to remove all of the wallpaper and then just go back through and texture and paint. That will begin the week of April 17th. But those are my updates as of last meeting.
All right.
Nope, one more thing. Since we last met, Pam Campbell celebrated 4 years with the building department, and I assure you she couldn't be happier, and the planning department. She might be able to be a little happier with that one, but definitely no happier could she be with the building department.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Human Resource, Michael Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, we've hired our municipal electrician. He came in a little over a week ago, busy as all get out. We've also had a seasonal transportation tech that's been hired. Recently, a promotion within the Public Works Department has taken place, and currently sitting on 2 offer letters, a part-time paramedic and a utilities locator that are out and waiting to be returned. As Chief said, we have multiple dispatch and police officer positions. That's nationwide. I don't know if there's going to be a secret to recruiting anybody like that. We've raised the pay rate for the dispatchers, and even then, the quantity and the quality of applicants just is not there. Here in the next few days, we'll be posting for sewer foreman and 4 open sewer positions, as well as a water position in our Public Works Department. Concession stand is almost fully staffed for the summer. We'll still need a parks seasonal position for their maintenance, as well as a full-time, year-round position.
All right. That all?
That's it.
All right, thank you much. Economic Development, Mitchell Moon.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. One thing I want to start off with tonight, I don't know if anyone read the Lake Sun newspaper this week, but there was a nice article on the front page highlighting the students of LCTC. Those students over in Camdenton created our barbecue logo, which is a very instrumental piece of getting this new event up and off the ground. Our barbecue committee, Mike Welty, Eric Gregory, and Jake Alexander, and then Carrie Patterson back there's on our committee too. We all came together and these students made it really hard on us. There was 18 designs to begin with, and then we had to dwindle it down from there. And there were some incredible designs, and I wanted to share with you the email that I sent to their instructor, Mr. Poe, Chuck Poe, because it was a very hard choice picking just one design. I told him, and please share this with the students, is what I told him. It was an incredibly wonderful opportunity to work with the students of LCTC. Each student exemplified professionalism and provided our staff with an outstanding product that we will be proud to showcase throughout the state of Missouri as we promote the Dragon Smoke barbecue competition. These students will have a bright future in graphic design, and we will be happy and excited to welcome them into our Lake area workforce one day. The barbecue competition logo they created is an instrumental component of attracting tourists to this event occurring during our Fall Fest on October 14th. So again, big kudos to the students of LCTC. Another project that the Office of Economic Development is working on is our community profile. That project is still underway. I gave a little bit of an update in our staff meeting yesterday, and we had some data that was corrected. So that project is still underway and continuing, but we are close to wrapping that up. And then finally, I will not be present at the next Board of Aldermen meeting nor the TIF Commission meeting. One of the things Gina outlined for my position early on when I was interviewing was I have to go to this Heartland Economic Development Conference, which is a huge event in the economic development world. Today I had a Zoom meeting with some of the members, not even all the members, and people on that Zoom meeting were from South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and obviously Missouri. So that event is going to be throughout the whole week of April 17th through the 21st. So I won't be around for our 2 meetings that week. However, anybody can always stop by my office and give me a ring if you have any questions regarding any materials through our office.
All right, thank you. Airport Manager, Ty Tisdale.
Yeah, just a quick update. I'm starting to discover my department's pretty boring compared to everybody else here.
We'll get you on the list too.
Thank you. Well, after 3 years of construction, at least he's fine. It's nice to have a little break. But I did attend the Missouri Airport Managers Association conference, spring conference at Lodge of the Four Seasons last week. And just real quick, I wanted to give a thank you to Mike Welty. He actually attended it also and sat on a panel during one of the presentations, and just wanted to give him a shout out for being there and taking the time to help out some of the airport managers.
All right. Public Works, Kevin Crooks.
Thank you, Mayor. On Public Works, this last week, we took delivery of the F550 crew truck. We're getting the PPE in there and decals and tools and whatnot, but with that brings a bunch of capabilities that we're really excited about. It's got acetylene torches, a generator, a welder, air impact tools. Basically, it's our flagship now. If we can't do it with that truck, it can't be helped, basically. And the crane that can pull all our pumps instead of just the smaller pumps like the rest of our trucks. So good stuff. Michael covered all my staffing stuff. Thank you, Michael. The new hire, the municipal electrician, just a word on him. His name is Kirk Nervik. You might see him around. He could be at City Hall. He could be at the airports doing ballast, whatever. He can do basically anything, but his playthings are three-phase, 480 volt, 100 amp stuff. So he loves that stuff, and it's fantastic. He's just been a great hire already. There's been a little bit of chatter on social media regarding road striping. Right now, the transportation department is all hands on deck on crack sealing. That's due to the weather. It cures better when the weather's a little bit cooler, and then conversely, road striping works better when the pavement's a little warmer than it is right now. So road striping will kick off this month and in May, as it usually does. And then a word on Sands and Rockway, probably two of our most highest importance stations that we have, 1 and 2, I would say. The basic issue with Sands is it's old gear. So the MCC, or the Motor Control Center, and all the communications gear there is now 22 years old. Again, with that municipal electrician, he's already made some repairs there. We're gonna see what we can do in lieu of another project, and getting Sands up to speed and get that thing maintainable and reliable and redundant. Rockway is going to take care of itself to some degree because in 2024 that is on our rehab schedule. The hatches, the electrical gear is not part of it. That is also 22 years old. But again, we're going to do what we can and see how far we can get without doing a major project there. But ultimately, it's going to have to get done. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Parks and Rec, Eric Gregory.
Yes, sir. Just a shout out to park staff. We've been working very hard to get the parks ready for the season and for Little League season. They're doing that with one full-time position down and no seasonal maintenance. A lot of preparation goes into getting the fields ready with fertilizer and whatnot. A lot more work than people realize, but they're looking outstanding. Our Little League season is well underway. Practices are going on throughout the week in April, and then the season officially starts in May 1st. And not only Little League, but then our big baseball, softball tournaments just about every weekend through August. So it's going to be very, very busy for us. The annual Osage Beach Easter egg hunt is going on Saturday. We did call ahead for nice weather, so please come out, and Parks and Rec can do that if you didn't know that. So it'll be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Face painting, balloon animals, hot dogs, and our economic development specialist is going to get his wish, and he's volunteered to wear the Easter Bunny costume. So if you want to see that, come out and see Mitch in the Easter Bunny costume. So I think the 2 and under start at noon, 3 to 5 is 12:30, 6 to 8-year-olds at 1, and 9 to 12-year-olds at 1:30 p.m. We'll have 35,000 Easter eggs spread out on all 3 baseball fields, and there are 2 golden eggs per age group, and they'll be able to win a bicycle. So exciting. I think Mike would expect 900 to 1,000 kids for this event. So yeah. Thanks in advance to the city employees that are coming out to volunteer, Ron and April White, and Pam and Campbell and her husband, and Terry Bell and her husband, and Mitch, of course. So, also, Lake of the Ozarks Food Truck Festival, hosted by the city of Osage Beach, is scheduled for April 29th and 30th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I got an update yesterday from the coalition. As of right now, 20 food trucks are going to be there and 25 tent vendors. So that's going to be the first time we've had this event. We're very excited about it. So if you're hungry that weekend, come down to City Park and take your choice. There's going to be lots of options. Just to repeat a little bit of what Michael said, we do need a few more seasonal positions. We have our concession stand fully staffed. We could use a backup. We do need one more seasonal park tech, seasonal worker. And then we do have a full-time park tech position, 1 or 2 open. It's still technically open. We are going to schedule interviews probably in the next 2 weeks with the applicants that we have, so we're excited to get that filled. Just a quick word, the spring yard waste drop-off was scheduled for March, April 17th. I think we're going to move that up to Monday, April 10th, and that's for citizens of Osage Beach. This is specifically for trimmings, limbs, grass, clippings, small trees, I stress small trees, leaves, and other miscellaneous waste. If you come out, it's located in the back of the city park near the maintenance building. And if you need assistance, give us a call. We just ask that you don't leave your trash bags there. We do have a service project coming up with New Horizons High School students on April 14th. We're going to have a total of 15 students working on that, and I think one of those projects may be touching up our little rundown bathroom over in Phoenix. Not really rundown, just need some cosmetic work and some other things. And then barbecue competition, we're hoping to have registration officially open for that
Tomorrow.
okay.
Tomorrow afternoon.
This is a big deal. So the registration link will be sent to Kansas City Barbecue Society to put on their calendar. Right now, the name and date and location is on there. And we're getting calls. I think the 30 spots for the teams is going to fill up very quickly. This is going to be a big deal. I'm very excited about this. So, and then the last thing I had, Alderman Rucker, you had asked about the deer hunt 1 or 2 meetings ago.
Oh, I forgot to put that on your list.
I did, and I got it, so.
Could've marked something off.
2021 deer hunt, which was open, public and private land, city park and private property. We had 30 hunters registered and 10 deer were harvested. Last year, we did not open up City Park because the deer count, we just were not seeing any deer. We didn't think it was necessary. So that was opened up for private property only, and it was 11 registered hunters and 6 deer harvested. We think since a year's passed, we're confident this year we can open up City Park again and see those numbers increase. So, and that is all I have, unless there's any questions.
All right. City Planner, Kerry Patterson.
Let me grab the mic real quick. So I'm glad not to be on the list. I find myself on plenty of those already. If you've been driving around or look at the paper, you'll see that we have quite a bit going on, quite a bit that is coming our way in the future. I expect the Planning Commission to be relatively busy between now and the end of the year. It's certainly a situation to where, a lot of the developments that we see pictures of in the paper will be things that have to go through the Planning Commission and ultimately come through the Board of Aldermen because there is zoning action that needs to be taken as part of those. So there will be public hearings on those things. Something to look forward to, of course. Of course, this time of year, we're all kind of, finding ourselves trying to do odd and side jobs, to help out other groups with and other departments with my background and connections that I have in signage. I'm working with Mike and then ultimately Dave to get some stuff done on our welcome sign that will be on the side of town that is towards Camdenton. Working pretty diligently with those gentlemen along with one of our local sign companies that is helping me a little bit with efficiency of the sign and its usability. So hopefully we'll get that stuff to you. Follow Gina's lead and say it'll be June-ish, probably.
June will be here. Very
June,
careful.
June-ish, yeah, well, of 2024 to 30 or so. The last thing I'll address, and I know we've talked about the Dragon Smoke Barbecue Contest quite a bit already, but I haven't said too much about it. What I will say is that it's something that, you know, events for our community to both create community and also bring in, you know, visitors to the community has always been something that's kind of been in my mind, that I've put together a couple of different events in my head. And this one is definitely probably the number one. Candidly, I felt like I needed to wait for the right mayor who enjoyed food and the right guy to coordinate the event. And I certainly feel like that Mayor Harmerson and then Eric, who has been absolutely amazing as it pertains to this. The event itself is really kind of, you know, starting to evolve and growing into something that is every bit of what I hoped it could be. And, you know, I know that this certainly couldn't have been done without Eric taking control of things like he has. It has been a great thing to watch him take control of the event itself and you know, develop it. And even though he wants to make fun of me in staff meetings, I'm going to say thank you to him for that. And of course, along with that, you know, I have the comfort to bring up some of the other events that I would like to do, and which I did this week. And we haven't talked about money because Gina wasn't involved, but he didn't, you know, bat an eye at it at all. And I think that that is a pretty good deal. So look forward to it a lot. Thank you.
Harry, you've been talking about the barbecue thing for at least 7 years that I can think of. It might have been earlier.
Yeah. Cochran Engineering, Dave Van Leer.
Thank you. Mike mentioned we certainly will, I'll circle back with Mike on the guideline revision for the streetlights. You're correct, there was quite a bit of work done on that ways back. So we'll bring all that back and get it back before you as needed. Just a few updates on some of the items we have going on. I have provided a first draft of the project priority for the Parks Master Plan to staff. So I'll be working through that with staff and then working with them to figure out how that will be brought back to the board for your review. Currently under construction, the Amy Lane project. That project is coming along as scheduled and is scheduled for completion on May 20th. Other jobs currently out to bid, I think Ron mentioned the 3 jobs that are currently out to bid here at City Hall: the parking lot rehab, the ambulance entrance, and the sidewalk repairs around City Hall. So there's gonna be a lot going on here at City Hall. In addition to that, this summer we're gonna have the Veterans Memorial work. So there's a lot going on here at City Hall, and we're working hard to try to coordinate all that so that it has the minimal impact we can to here at City Hall. Also getting bids and working on getting bids for your three water storage tank projects that we're doing this year. That is the Columbia Tower, Bluff Road, and Swiss Village. And then not out to bid yet, but going out to bid soon will be the bathroom improvements at the Public Works Maintenance Building, and then also the City Park Maintenance Building. During the Parks Master Plan Workshop, we were directed to proceed with the bathrooms at City Park, so that was expedited, and that'll be going out to bid soon. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. City Attorney Cole Bradbury.
Mine's brief. Sunshine Law Interpretation memo is in all of your inboxes. Went out about 5:30 tonight. So if you're having trouble sleeping tonight later, I highly recommend it. And other pending, we will discuss in closed session.
Wish I could get away with that.
Yeah. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, a couple items. One is the staff available, get of the availability of the information that comes to us from MML?
Everybody that has signed up on their email, and I printed that very thing today because I'm getting legislative requests on some of those Senate bills.
Okay, because there is just, I mean, I went through here and on this one here, which was dated March 29th, I mean, there is something in here for You know, there's something for Carrie, there's something for Michael, there's something for Todd, there's something for Carrie Patterson, there's something for Todd. I mean, there's Carrie, our treasurer. So there is just a wealth of information in here that I believe staff members should be looking at and reading, and it's specifically. There was one thing, Carrie, that I seen that I didn't put my hands on, but I wanted to bring to your attention. It's a new MML Planning and Zoning Handbook. It appears to me, and my computer was being a computer, and I couldn't, but it's a free download, and it may be something that appears to be of value, not from your standpoint. I mean, there should be something you might gain, but something that might be available that you can make available to us from a learning standpoint and your P&Z people. So that was something that.
I went through it, you know, there are some beneficial things, but, you know, I found it to be more along the lines of information that, you know, would be for smaller communities that maybe haven't been as involved in planning and zoning as we have, and have professionals, but it's certainly something that I can produce for the board and the planning commission, so.
I think some educational stuff there.
I'll ensure all our appointed officials,
Yeah, we get the
I know
board.
if they've signed up and got their email corrected, they should be getting them. So I
If
will
they're
make
not
sure.
getting
If
them,
they're
I would
not,
suggest that
Tara
they
actually can go in behind the scenes and make
suggest that
sure.
we get them signed up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the board has been paying attention to what's going on in Jeff City, but if you are, if you haven't, you better be. Because let me tell you what, those people up in Jeff City need to be worrying about Missouri and taking care of the problems in Missouri. Supposedly, there's lots more money in Missouri, and money that Missouri has than they need. Well, that's fine. Let them cut their own daggone taxes. I have a list here of stuff they're wanting to take and continually cut and reduce, which has to do with sales and property taxes and personal property taxes and all this and other. And they're cutting these things and they're affecting our budget. And we're going to be the ones that are going to be suffering when all of a sudden there's items that are being bought that there's no longer sales tax being paid on it. And so, you know, this again is information that's in the MML guideline stuff. I think I sent an email out to all the board members because I sent a letter off to all the senators and the representatives. And I will just tell you from years and years and years ago when I was a fire chief, you'd be surprised what 1 or 2 emails do. You would be surprised when you get up there and you say, well, haven't you heard from anybody about this? No. You know, and so many people will complain about it but not do anything about it. So we need to be doing it. We need to be getting to our constituents, but that's something we can do to protect our city. I would also tell you that I've had the opportunity to attend the last 2 citizens meetings, citizens advisory meetings. No, I haven't been there in person because I know the mayor has, but you're saying, where was he? Well, I was at home on my phone and watching them. And I won't take any of their thunder because they are doing a very good job. And they've got a lot of good ideas. Some of them I kick myself on the backside saying, why did I think of that? But that's why we have them. It's a group of people that can look at it from a different perspective, and I applaud them, and hopefully some of them are listening and knowing that you know they're doing a good job, and I think they've got a lot of things that they're going to be bringing forth to us, some to the staff, some to the attorney, and some lot of good things. So I'm glad they're doing what they're doing and applaud it. Other than that, I got a couple items just for Gina that I'll catch her after the meeting, and that's all I have.
All right, Alderman Schuman.
I don't have as much. I'm just very excited about all the new developments and buildings that's going on in the area. It seems like the city is really starting to grow, which we kind of assumed was going to happen. Very excited for T-ball to start. My kiddos are both signed up for it. That's crazy. Their games are at the same time, so that's actually kind of nice instead of having it all week, but their practices started this week. I'm a little crazy. They're doing that and soccer at the same time, and they've already been asking about the Easter egg hunt and practicing. They've been hiding things around the house. I just hope they find it all. Yes. So, but just very excited and very pleased with all the updates that we got. I think it sounds like everybody did a lot of research with it before they came, and we really appreciate that. And that's it.
All right, Alderman Becker.
Well, it's been fun. It's been quite interesting and enlightening, very enlightening. I appreciate everyone putting up with my stupid questions. Possibly my last official act will be celebrating my 30th anniversary with my wife at the TIF Commission meeting. So see some of you there.
Bring a snack.
I celebrated my birthday last week.
Alderman Osteen.
All right, I've got several items. I'm at it again tonight. First of all, I would like to thank all the department heads and representatives for heeding my request to stop reading the blue sheets on the agenda items. If you are the presenter for an agenda item, I think we saved a lot of time if we continue to stick to that. I would like to extend some thank yous. Thank you, Mitchell, for volunteering to be the Easter Bunny.
Yay.
At the Easter egg hunt.
For the kids listening at home, the Easter Bunny is real. Santa is real. Those are not other imposters in a suit.
Yes.
You're a helper.
Eric, perhaps I never paid attention, but this week I started seeing flyers everywhere for umpires and seasonal positions at the parks, which I thought was very smart. I don't know if those went out this week or I just never paid attention, but suddenly I saw them everywhere. So.
One of the things I started doing after I started was driving around town and putting up flyers, and it's a lot more effective than you think. A lot of
Yes.
people coming out of a gas
I
station.
finally started noticing them at gas stations this week. So kudos to you for trying to step outside the box to try to get some of those positions filled. Kevin, thank you for bringing up some issues that I brought up at previous meetings regarding legislature that's before the state. If I remember off the top of my head, from the last MML conference that we attended in Jefferson City, there were 93 bills being presented to the state, all of them to reduce taxes in some capacity. Property taxes, specific item taxes, formula, feminine products. I mean, the laundry list is huge, but at the end result is, some people may see that as a boon, but the end result is, once again, that has a direct impact on our revenue, and that goes directly to our budget and our operations. So yes, you should stay in tune and informed with what is being presented to the state, who is supporting those issues, and if they pass or not, because like we said, that has a direct impact on us, our bottom line. Next item, and my last, I want to move on to our department list. Once again, this is a living, breathing document that we're still in the infancy stage of trying to figure out how to utilize this to our advantage. So a few questions that I'm bringing up to the board and to the departments. Should, at the end of every meeting, we recap on what items have been removed, or do we just singly cross them off ourselves?
I think Gina takes, and she's the author of it.
Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all I've seen as far as tonight's discussions was we were removing the engineer contract.
And vehicle replacement.
Vehicle replacement program. I had question marks behind the lift station panel replacement plan because that was part of a grant or tied into grant money we did not receive. So is that something that's still active or something that we table?
These are your, I'm not trying to
And
pass the
open up
buck.
to the board as
I
well.
don't mind making a decision, but these are your items on here. So collectively, if you feel you've had an answer satisfied, then somehow give me the wave to
Okay.
cut it. If not, it stays on, because they're here for your satisfaction of updates. Some are gonna be easy, one and done.
Yes, and
But
there were
a lot of these are not.
sunshine law as well, because Cole, I did
It's
see that
right.
email.
It's emailed, so that one's gonna be
And
done.
FYI, that came in at 5:47, not 5:30. But those are the three items that got removed. But there are two items, the Swiss Village treatment plan as well. That basically discussion was tied into perceived grant money we did not receive. So I'm just curious on, do these stay on this list? I'm asking the board as a whole. Do we keep them on this list? Because without that grant money, is there really a plan? Do we need to keep formulating a plan? I'm just trying to get some feedback on, once again, how we continue to fine tune using
The word
this.
you said, I think, is what I'm looking for. It's not completed, but what's the plan?
Yeah.
So until there's a plan, it stays on the list.
Stays on the
Because
list.
it's still
Plan, it stays on
pending.
the list.
Okay.
That's my vote.
Alderman Ross?
My suggestion is whoever requested to put it on the list can decide when to take it off. I mean, they're the ones that put it on the list, they wanted the update. If somebody else feels comfortable or uncomfortable if it comes off and wants it to be put back on, then they can own whether or not it stays on or not, but that would be my suggestion.
But I think we have to have some type of majority opinion on if we felt like this question has been answered. effectively for the board, and therefore cross it off. I don't think it should be necessarily one person's decision saying, oh, I gave them the answer they wanted, cross it off the list, when the next meeting, we're like, well, wait a minute, I never got clarification on this part of this item. I'm just, like I said, just trying to feel this out with how everybody feels and moving forward, how we utilize this. And Michael, you?
I just, the specific items that you brought up are important items. Now, whether or not I'm not saying that Kevin and I are going to have an update on those items at every meeting. I don't think we are. But they're items that need to be addressed because they're items that are vital to
Mike,
the
if that
health of our
philosophy,
sewer
everything in our
system.
budget is important.
Yeah.
I agree with Richard. If you were the source of putting on the list, which could be multiple sources, I'm gonna look to you all, whether you're the single, like Kevin, there are specific ones. Until I know Kevin's told me, okay, we're done, then I'm gonna leave it on the list. So I don't wanna make that decision. You guys are putting
And
it
how do
on
we
the
convey
list for
that?
a
Is
reason.
it an email we send out to the group as a board?
I think the way Gina did it last time.
Or do we just go through the list at the end and say,
then you,
cross, cross,
several of you
cross?
said, you wanted
Add
sunshine.
this or don't add.
You wanted sunshine on, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a group email where it got added, and somebody could say, this can come off, this can go on. And if somebody says this can come off, then what Alderman Ross just said is accurate. Well, no, I want this on because I still want to hear an update about it next time.
So the
I think
Monday
that
of the
works.
packet, like I did last time, here's the new draft list. Do you need anything added? Do you need anything taken off? And if I hear from you, great. If I don't, then that's the list that goes on the next packet. So I got two things.
I don't want everybody directing this at me either, because it's for the board, so I want you all to give your opinions as well.
All right, does that sound okay to everybody?
And then on the flip side, adding items to the agenda list.
There you go.
Once again, is that something we do after this meeting, that we email you saying, please add this to the next board meeting, or is something we should discuss here?
In that same email, I'm gonna ask you, do you have anything to add? Or do you have anything to take off? In between those Mondays before the packets, just email me, because like Richard just had, oh, by the way, add this to the list. And I've got them pending for the next list to be produced, so.
Okay. I just wanted to have a discussion about this again. And thank you, everybody, for supporting this idea. I was,
Good idea.
well, sometimes even a broken clock is right, so. So sometimes I do have some good ideas, and this, I think, moving forward, when I'm long gone from this board, which could be next week, who knows? I think this is gonna be so advantageous in helping us basically come to resolution, get plans in action, hold people accountable. I think this was such a smart idea that I patted myself on the back, and I don't mean to, but I like the way that this is going, so that's all I had.
A broken clock is right twice a day, so it's
Yeah,
great.
that's right.
Good.
Alderman Rose.
I'd like to echo just many thanks to the staff for all the time and effort you've put forward with some of these issues that are always overbearing or overwhelming, but we appreciate your time. And looking forward to the Easter egg hunt, and I see the weather's going to be cooperating, so that's good. And I'd also like to just remind everybody, obviously, April 17th, we've got the public hearing, which I think is excellent for the public to know about the Oasis. And I know I put a shout out in my letter to my constituents in my ward to just remind them of anybody that's interested to come, because some people don't just think, well, it's another meeting, but where they can actually voice their concerns or ask questions. And Tyler, it's been a real pleasure having you on the board. Thank you for your service. That's it.
All right, Alderman Ross.
Got another board meeting.
Sorry. Thank you. So some recognition to start with, and one to start with Tyler. It was great to serve with you. Although we didn't always agree, I always respected your opinion and appreciate, as Alderman Rose said, your service. It's always interesting to serve the public, and it's a thankless job many times. So thank you for everything. Want to recognize the chief for some help down on Wilson Road with him and one of the officers. We've had an ongoing problem with speeding down there, and I think maybe made a little impact. And sometime a little bit goes a long way. And most importantly, I don't want to say, but not least, last but not least, is to recognize Eric and his park staff for some time that they spent with me at the parks. Probably long overdue that I spent some time down there. But it was an eye-opening experience. I think you guys do a lot with very little, and it became very apparent after spending a couple hours how little you guys have at times. So I just want to say thank you for everything you do. And please tell Dan, and I apologize, I'm not great with names, the other gentleman. Along the lines of updates, though, I would ask that we had the discussion about trying to get a water line down there. And if, for those of you that don't know, there is not a water supply at the maintenance shed, okay? And with the chemicals that they work with, it became very obvious to me how unsafe that was. And so I challenged them, and so now I'm going to ask for an update of, I realize we need to scope stuff and bid stuff and get it out and get the contractor lined up and so forth, but we're in the water business, and getting a water line down there with just a faucet somebody could run to and get if they needed it. When I ask, what do they have, there's 2 bottles in this thing that's about this wide to try to solve anything with the chemicals that they have, and I just found that, to be quite honest, appalling. And so is there any update on possibly getting a water line down there quicker than maybe August, September at the earliest when we do the bathrooms?
Richard, you kind of caught me with, I haven't really talked to Kevin about this, but I did have a conversation with Zach.
Okay.
And I said, Zach, where does the water, where does it terminate now? And he showed me. And I said, how hard, you and I talked about this on the phone, I promised you I would do this. I said, how hard would it be for the water department to run a line? It's basically, it's right up by the soccer field, number 1. Mm-hmm. I said, how hard would it be for you guys to run that line all the way down to the corner of the parking lot, the maintenance, and stub it out so that when the contractor builds the bathroom, all he's got to do is connect to it. His eyes lit up. He was like, we would love to take on a project like that. Now, again, I have not even talked to Kevin about this yet. But I haven't talked to Dave about it yet. So that's kind of why I didn't bring it up, is because I hadn't talked. But you asked, so there you go. Conversations are happening, and more are going to happen, and it sounds promising.
Okay. Appreciate that. I'm glad to see you guys working, because I don't think it's as complicated as we may have thought, and it could make a difference throughout the summer, depending on what might occur. Okay. Couple questions around sewer staffing. I didn't quite catch what Michael said. And so we have 9 people that are approved, 9 head counts for sewer technicians. And so how many are we short?
We're short 4 positions. 2 of them are leadership. I've been filling in. So the sewer superintendent, the sewer foreman, and 2 sewer technicians are currently open.
Did we lose a sewer foreman?
We did.
Okay, that's worse than I had hoped. Electrician, does our new electrician, glad he's on board, does he have any capability towards traffic signals? Traffic signals?
Traffic signals, that's a niche. He's not dealt with that, but again, you and I have this conversation. This is where we put our training money is in this guy, because he's already done controls for us. Traffic controls are, they're relays and they're power supplies like everything else. He has not dealt with those, but as we talked
have a plan
about.
in place yet, and I know he's just hired. Do we yet have a plan in place to help develop that capability?
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. I think we should.
Okay, so in other words, I guess maybe I'm asking, do we have budgeted monies? And if so, do we have training that not necessarily scheduled yet, but we expect to complete by maybe the end of summer or something?
Let me put it this way. If we can unwind all the things that I've got a list for him, and then things settle down a little bit, that's absolutely where I go with it. Right now, it's a little bit of fire drill. He's clean up on aisle 4, but that's exactly what I want to do. And we do have training money. But
Sounds
yeah,
like
that's
it's a low priority at this point.
It's a low priority because I want to keep the sewer and the water working. Yeah.
How do we do them without him?
Of spending a lot more money and then waiting for those subcontractors, those electricians to come here. And that's the benefit here, is we don't have to wait for someone to pick up the phone and then wait for them to come and wait for them to order the parts.
Okay.
It's huge.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. I just have a few things. I'll be quick, I promise. But first and foremost, yes, best wishes to you, Tyler. Alderman Becker, I've enjoyed working with you. It's only been a year. And but I wish you the best always, and appreciated our conversations and work together. So best wishes to you. On the list was loggers, and that is something that I kind of took on as that I'd talked with the folks from loggers a couple of months ago. They provided me some information that we need to get to them, so that's something I'll be talking with Gina about. It's a minimal amount that we want to possibly look at. I am by no means for or against that as of this time. I'm just gathering information, and as I do, we'll come back to the board from there. So we're continuing to work on that. Thank you. I too want to remind the TIF hearing on the 17th. That is something very important. Now's the time, folks. A lot of times you'll sit at home and you'll throw out stuff on social media, good, bad, or indifference. I hear all sorts of things. Most has been positive, some has been negative. But on the 17th, it's a time to come, and this is a public hearing. Time to voice your concerns, get your questions answered. Biggest project ever. So if you have a good, bad questions, come out on the 17th. We'll be right here at 6 o'clock. The Easter egg hunt, thank you, Eric. Last year, first thing after I took off was I went down to the Easter egg hunt, and Mike was running it, and I was blown away. About 1,000 kids running around there, and he told me at the time, I don't know if he said this, totally free. Hot dogs, chips, Easter egg hunt, bicycle punch. I mean, totally free, people. So go check it out. Even if you want to just go watch, see these little kids run. It's just a neat event. So very neat, perfect weather. So check it out, folks. 11 o'clock Saturday. Citizens Advisory Committee. Thank you for watching. I was too. If you still go back on Facebook and watch it, I was actually blown away by the Food Truck Coalition's presentation. I think when we first sat down, there were some brick and mortar people on the Citizens Advisory Committee that were quite frankly, didn't think, well, why should they not have to pay what we have to pay? And after listening to a few minutes of the Citizens Advisory Committee, I think they even said, you know what, they basically the same business. And it was very enlightening. They're doing a good job. They had two things on their agenda. They tabled the second one, which would talk about the signs. They're only focusing on the food truck right now. And we've got Cole looking at different things to do as far as the ordinance and changing things, but they're doing a great job. And if you have any questions, or take a look at that Facebook from last what was it? Tuesday night. Tuesday night. But they're going to meet the first Tuesday of each month, and they're doing a good job. So if you see them, thank them. Thank you to Carrie and Mike. As you guys know, one of the things I ran on was opening the Welcome to Osage Beach, the heart of, Lake of the Ozarks. And Carrie's been talking with Mike and the MoDOT and everything else. And of course, every day I'm bugging them because I don't like to follow procedures and think, why can't we do this thing tomorrow? Well, we got to wait for this, And so we got Lamar involved, but it's the first print of it. It's actually beautiful, nice sign with 10 by 20 LED. We can literally, as you're coming into Osage Beach, right there before Harley Davidson. I mean, you can change things like if you have an Amber Alert, if you have special events, and it's just neat stuff. So thank you guys for pushing that thing through, and I'll probably continue to bug, but it's good stuff. Last thing is just happy Easter. Sunday's the day, folks. It's a very important time. So enjoy Saturday and enjoy your family on Sunday. So happy Easter, everybody. All right, that's the last thing on the regular session. Notice is now given that the agenda includes a roll call vote to include the meetings on actually three executive session items. First is section 610.021. It's a hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting. Section 610.021, legal actions, and also section 610.021, lease, purchasing, and sale of property. So at this time, do I have a motion from a board member to move into executive session?
Motion.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second? Alderman Becker.
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, folks.
I gotta use the restroom. 2.5
Bars are all closed. I'm talking about getting beers after this. I'm like, resolution.